So for shooting flat lay, the first thing I like to look out for is natural light sources. Spotlights are bad because they create a lot of weird shadows and you can't do overhead shots without getting your camera's shadow on your flat lay. But in this case, the natural light from the window was much stronger than the spotlights overhead, so it still works. Let's gather all our food and drinks, place them opposite each other diagonally, and we'll take our picture from overhead. For editing wise, I use VSCO Cam, but you can use Snapseed or inbuilt editing tools from your phone. So here are a few different types of compositions I shot of our food, and because we didn't have the luxury of space, we had to sit at a countertop. So here's another way of photographing your food when space is a challenge. When shooting flat lay, keep in mind these three principles: symmetry, balance, and the rule of thirds. So for example, in this image, the salmon takes up 2/3 of the image and 1/3 of the image is negative space, which means it's empty. That's the rule of thirds. You can see that the line cuts across the image has an equal distance from the corner on both sides of the line. That's symmetry. So let's talk about the different tools in VSCO Cam. We have exposure, where we bump up the general brightness of the image. We have contrast, where we deepen the colors and the shadows and amp up the highlights. In this case, you can see that I tried to increase the exposure, but my salmon became too bright. But I do still want to increase the brightness of other parts of the image, so I'm going to use the shadow tool. Now the shadow tool lifts the shadows in the image, making the darker parts brighter first. Here's an extreme version of what the shadows do. So when we increase the shadows, it also tends to decrease the contrast of the image. So we're going to add back that contrast by going into the contrast tool. And for this image, I'm going to show you how I fix what looks like a badly taken flat lay shot. And using the principles of the rule of thirds and symmetry, we are going to make this flat lay shot rock. First, I'm going to use the straightening tool. In other apps, it's also called rotate. And I'm going to align the boards to the grids, making them parallel. That's symmetry. And then the mac and cheese on the board takes up about 2/3 of the image. That's the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds is basically a principle where the image is equally divided into 9 parts. You can see the rule of thirds by turning on your grid when you're shooting. So here are some of the tips for shooting flat lay for Instagram. I hope these were useful and that you will be able to apply these tips immediately. I hope you get really good results from the 3 principles and you have fun in post-processing. Let me know if these tips have helped you, or share this video with someone who is also interested in how to shoot nice flat lays for Instagram. Tag me on Instagram if you've used these principles to shoot your flat lay. I hope it helps. I hope you have a good one. Bye guys!